Long before the world came to know him as the Prince of Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne was just John Michael Osbourne, a working-class boy from Birmingham trying to find his way. And in the early, chaotic days of his ascent to fame, there was a woman who stood beside him, Thelma Riley. Though their relationship would later unravel under the weight of fame, addiction, and emotional distance, the memories they shared never completely faded. And in the quiet moments after Ozzy's passing in July 2025, Thelma reflected on their shared past, not with bitterness, but with a sense of gratitude and sorrow. Thelma Riley has an estimated net worth of $920,000. She has amassed this impressive sum from her successful career and business ventures. Thelma Riley was born in 1954 in Birmingham, England, the very same industrial city that had birthed the heavy metal revolution. Raised in a modest household, she lived a life of simplicity and routine. Her early years were grounded in working-class values, punctuated by hard work, loyalty, and resilience. Birmingham was a city of soot-streaked buildings and steel factories, but it also bred a toughness in those who called it home. Thelma, like many girls in her neighborhood, worked diligently, eventually becoming a school teacher. Her quiet demeanor and nurturing nature made her beloved by students and respected by colleagues. It was at a nightclub in the early 1970s where fate placed Thelma in the path of a young, brooding rocker named Ozzy Osbourne. At the time, Ozzy had just started to gain traction as the frontman for Black Sabbath, a band that was redefining music with its dark themes and heavy riffs. Thelma, drawn to his vulnerability and charisma, found herself intrigued by the man behind the stage persona. Ozzy, in turn, was captivated by her calm and grounded presence. He often described her as his anchor, someone who brought a sense of normalcy to the madness of his rising fame. Their relationship moved quickly. The couple married in 1971, and together they built a home in Birmingham. Thelma already had a son, Elliot, from a previous relationship, whom Ozzy adopted and raised as his own. Soon after, they had 2 more children, Jessica and Lewis. At first, it seemed as if they were building the kind of life many dream of: family dinners, laughter echoing through the hallways, and a supportive partner to come home to after long tours. But Ozzy's stardom grew faster than anyone could have predicted. The whirlwind lifestyle of being in one of the most influential bands of the era came with its toll. Drugs, alcohol, and the pressures of fame consumed him. Thelma tried to hold everything together, caring for the children, waiting through long absences, and worrying about her husband's self-destructive habits. Despite her efforts, the cracks began to show. Ozzy has been candid over the years about the damage he caused during their marriage. He once admitted in interviews that he had been a terrible husband and father, confessing that he couldn't even remember the births of his own children due to his substance abuse. Thelma endured more than most spouses could bear. She watched the man she loved descend into chaos, unable to reach him through the haze of addiction and emotional detachment. Eventually, the distance between them became too great. Their marriage ended in divorce in 1982. Thelma retreated from the spotlight after the divorce. While Ozzy's career soared to new heights as a solo artist and reality television star, Thelma focused on raising their children and returning to a more private life. She rarely spoke publicly about her relationship with Ozzy, choosing instead to maintain a dignified silence. Over the years, their children carried pieces of both parents with them. Jessica choosing a path outside of the public eye, and Lewis briefly engaging with music before stepping away. Though their marriage had ended decades ago, Ozzy's death on July 22, 2025, shook Thelma in ways she hadn't expected. He had been more than her ex-husband. He had been a part of her youth, her memories, and the journey of motherhood. He was the man she once loved, and the father of her children. The pain was complicated, but it was real. In the days following his death, tributes poured in from all over the world. Fans held vigils, fellow musicians shared stories, and media outlets honored Ozzy's legacy. Quietly, away from cameras, Thelma composed a personal tribute, one not for the world, but for the man she remembered. "I met Ozzy before the world knew him as the legend," she wrote in a heartfelt letter that was later read privately at a small family gathering. "He was just John to me, a dreamer, a young man full of contradictions. There were days when he was wild and unpredictable, and others when he was gentle, kind, and scared of what lay ahead. I saw both sides, and I loved him for who he was then. Our marriage may not have lasted, but I carry no hatred, only memories." She spoke of his laughter, the kind that would erupt in the kitchen as he tried to help with dinner, and ended up making a mess. She remembered his music vibrating through their home late at night as he tested new ideas. And she talked about the quiet nights when he'd fall asleep with one of the children on his chest, exhausted from the road, but at peace in those fleeting moments. Time changes everything, she continued. It heals, but it also gives you perspective. I know he struggled deeply, and I know I couldn't fix him. But I hope he found peace in the end, and I hope he knew, somewhere deep inside, that he was loved, even when we were apart. Though Thelma remained private even in her grief, her words were deeply felt by those closest to her and Ozzy. They offered a glimpse into a part of his life that had been overshadowed by fame and notoriety. A time before the MTV reality shows, before the awards, and before the world turned him into a rock and roll icon. In her tribute, Thelma did not rewrite the past. She acknowledged the pain, the chaos, and the mistakes. But she also honored the love, the beginnings, and the bond that never quite disappeared. For all the turbulence, there had been genuine affection, and in remembering that, she found solace. Years after their marriage had ended, and now, after his death, Thelma's tribute reminds those who listen that every public figure has a private story, and every legend begins with humble, human moments. While the world celebrated Ozzy as the godfather of heavy metal, Thelma remembered the man who once held her hand in the back of a smoky Birmingham club and made her believe, if only for a moment, that love could weather any storm. In the silence that followed the world's loud farewell to Ozzy Osbourne, Thelma Riley's tribute echoed softly, a reminder that even in the shadows of a tumultuous past, grace and tenderness can still be found. And with that, thanks for watching. Give us a like, share with friends, and please subscribe.